Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention a couple really cool Slash interviews. I kind of wish every Slash interview was this way. So radio.com interviewed Slash. I think it was probably several times over a number of years. And instead of just showing him on camera, they animated all his interviews and his stories. So there's three stories he tells. The first one we'll talk about is about working with Michael Jackson and actually performing live with Michael Jackson. And he said that Michael was like really meticulous about every little aspect of the actual stage show, right down to the choreograph, to the music, even to how his backup musicians would basically be on stage. And he said that, Michael was like really professional. He never raised his voice except for once, and it wasn't at Slash. It was actually at his own guitar player. So he had a guitar player who was named Jennifer Batten, and Slash was filling in and playing with Jennifer on stage, and he actually had to raise his voice to Jennifer because she wanted to have Slash do some choreographed bits on stage, and Slash kind of wasn't really into it because, Guns N' Roses wasn't a band that did choreographed stuff, with the exception, of course, of the music videos. And he took her to the bathroom and basically had to tell her, like, listen, if Slash doesn't want to do it, then don't force him to do it. So I've linked to that story down below if you guys want to go check it out. Let's talk about the next story that Slash discussed. So he talked about working with Lenny Kravitz on his 1991 album, and he talked about how he met Lenny at, I think it was the American Music Awards back in 1990, or maybe it was 91, and Lenny had basically asked him to play on his song Fields of Joy. And Lenny and Slash actually already knew each other because they went to the same school together way back in the day. And so they booked a studio date in some studio in LA. Slash went and played just like a spontaneous lead part on the song, and then in between takes, Slash was jamming on what would have become the riff to Always on the Run. And he said he had practiced that riff with Steven Adler, and it was a little bit too funky for Steven to play, and he even jammed with Duff and Matt Sorum on it, and it was a little too funky for the band still, so he had it lying around, but he didn't know what to do with it. And Lenny Kravitz heard it and he loved it. And then, he said, oh, can we record that? So months later, they actually booked a date in Hoboken, New Jersey. And it was actually on a Sunday. And Slash talked about this in his book. He said that, he was a serious alcoholic back then, that, he couldn't really play in the studio unless he had unless he drank a bit. So it was a Sunday, nothing was open. So they actually had to go knocking on people's doors in the neighborhood to actually find some liquor before Slash could, play the actual track, which I thought was kind of a funny story. So I've linked to that video down as well. So the next story he told, and this one's kind of shown in a different animation style. I'm not sure why, but this one's still definitely worth watching. So this is about when Slash played on Bob Dylan's album. This was done back in around 1990 or so. Slash played on a song called Wiggle Wiggle, and he actually laid down an acoustic rhythm track for it, as well as did like a improvised a solo on it. And he talked about meeting Bob Dylan and how Bob Dylan was like wearing a hoodie, and it was like really hot outside, and he was wearing a hoodie and he was wearing gloves, and it was kind of weird. And then also how he went into the studio, he laid down the solo and the acoustic track, and when he got the actual final song, he noticed that his solo had been taken off, but his acoustic track was still on there. And he talked to the producer, and the producer said, oh, Bob thought it sounded too much like Guns N' Roses. And Slash said it was kind of an honor or kind of a compliment to actually be able to hear a certain guitar player and know exactly who's playing that and have that recognizable sound. So I've linked to that video down below as well. And then we've got another story that Slash tells about Michael Jackson. So he talked about actually recording with Michael Jackson in the studio. So he played on his two of his tracks. One was, of course, Given to Me, and the other one was sort of like a partial track on Black or White. And a lot of people think that main riff in Black or White is actually a Slash riff. It's actually not. The only part that Slash plays is like the intro, like if you guys have seen the music video. And Slash actually set the record straight on whether he played that riff or not in an interview he did in Canada back in 2010. So he was being interviewed about Michael Jackson, and he said he did not play on Michael Jackson's hit 1991 single Black or White. As a keynote speaker in Toronto, he said that I did not play on that song, remarking that the guitars were not his sound. He said, that's gay, I would never play that. In fact, he only plays on Given to Me, found on the same Michael Jackson album, but says the confusion was made when the music video for Black or White featured footage of him in the studio. But he talked about how he met Michael Jackson in the studio. He was dating Brooke Shields at the time, and Michael Jackson just told him, like, hey, Slash, play whatever you want. And then he sort of left, and Slash and the producer worked together, and they came up with his part on the song Given to Me. Now, Slash talked pretty openly about working with Bob Dylan as well as Michael Jackson back in the 1991 interview he did with Rolling Stone. Now, granted, I think he was a little bit bitter about those sessions, but I think as time goes on, I know at least with me in my life, every time I look back at stuff, my opinion of it changes over time, and maybe these sessions were just fresh in his mind. But here's what he had to say about Bob Dylan. He said, Don called me up and asked me to play with Dylan, which turned out to be one of those mistakes you learn from. He must have said two words while I was there. One was hi and the other was play it like Django Reinhardt. With all due respect to Django, that would have been a great concept had it fit the song. The whole thing was just a drag. Nothing against Dylan because my dad liked him. Slash also talked about growing up on Dylan, and he said that, he said he never disliked Bob Dylan until the last 5 or 6 albums. He said he did get to meet George Harrison while he was there, though, and that was great. He said he's doing some effing awesome slide playing. He also was asked about playing with Michael Jackson, and he said that, he admired Michael Jackson a lot, has a lot of respect for him, but when it came down to it, the sessions were unorganized. And as you know, Slash said that he likes to keep a schedule and be punctual, which is obviously one of the reasons why he sometimes butted heads with Axl Rose. He said, but those dates just sat there for months and months until I kept thinking they didn't want to use me anymore. Then he said he got a call 3 months later to do it at such and such date, but when the date came, it wouldn't happen. I finally went down and recorded some rhythm stuff for a couple songs. Then the producer said he was going to another country for a while, and I told him, give me a call when he got back, but all I did was end up talking to his wife or his kid, trying to find out what was going on, and to this day I still don't know what's happening. So go check those videos, guys. I've linked to all of them down below. Thanks for watching. Let me know your comments down below as well. Don't you wish every Slash interview was made into a cartoon? Because I sure wish they were. I wish every Guns N' Roses interview was made into a cartoon. It'd be a lot more exciting. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of this video. Hit the subscribe button if you guys want to stay up to date on all things related to Guns N' Roses. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter. The links to my social media pages are down below. So thanks for watching, guys, and have yourself a good day.